Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Get Wealth Podcast. I'm Brennan Wiersma. Today I have here Zack Boothe, another real estate investor. So super excited to talk about the business you got going on and where that's going. I'm always more than eager to learn more about real estate. That's kind of what this podcast has turned into. I started out just how to build wealth, and then I realized that real estate's kind of the way to achieve that. So thanks for coming on the show today, man.
Well, thanks for having me.
So let's just start off about you. Like, where did you come from, and how did you start building a business in real estate?
Yeah, well, I'm just a redneck here in Utah. Nothing special about my family, really. I grew up pretty simple. I grew up working with my dad. He always had a side job. We mowed lawns after school and after work. And I remember when I was a kid, I would ask my dad, we're mowing lawns for all these wealthy people. And I remember asking my dad, how do they have all this money? How much money do they make? What do they do? And I was just so curious to the fact that no one mowed my lawn. We were mowing all these other people's lawns. It's like, why is it this way? And so when I was a young kid, I started working when I was 11 with my family. And when I was 14, I'd asked my dad, why people have money and other people don't. And he didn't really know what to say. He had a 9-to-5. He's now 60. He's worked at the same job since he was 19. But he grew up pretty poor. My father's story is pretty tough. He was asking neighbors for food to feed his younger siblings when he was a kid. My dad grew up in a pretty rough situation, and I have a lot of respect and love for him, but he didn't really understand finances. He didn't understand how to build wealth. He just didn't know. There wasn't podcasts and opportunities to learn as easy as we have now. And so he's like, I don't know, son, why don't you talk to my rich friend? And his name was Clint. And I was like, Clint doesn't have money. He drives an old crappy truck. He was like, he's just cheap, son. He has a lot of money. And he actually told me to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was 14. So that was a long time ago. That was 17 years ago. No, more than that, 18 years ago. And everyone's going to know how terrible I am at math. 17 years ago. And anyways, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it kind of opened my eyes, and it made me want to kind of do my own thing. And so by the time I was 17, I'd worked like a ton of different jobs. I had done, I did the yard care stuff for my family. I went to Nova Scotia, Canada, and did landscaping and taking care of a property for a summer. I'd done handcrafted cheese, framed houses, finished carpentry, taxidermy. I'd done all sorts of different jobs. And it was a requirement by my father. I was 16. I took care of myself financially, and he wanted to teach me to take care of myself, which was awesome. And so I was in this journey of trying to figure things out. And I started my first business when I was 17, and I started a window cleaning business, and I ran that for about a decade, and it was awesome. I had my first employee when I was 17 years old. And for my 18th birthday, I went and got my first business license, got insured, workman's comp, everything that I needed to be able to get the bigger contracts and scale this business. And, from the outside looking in, I was super successful. I ended up with 3 trucks and like 13 employees. I ended up on the History Channel because of it. You watch, if you just search like Zack Boothe or window cleaning ventures, you'll see some of my YouTube videos on how to wash windows. I have millions and millions of views. I think I have like 20 million views on one of my videos, something crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so from the outside looking in, I was super successful, right? But I was paycheck to paycheck. I was like, I wanted to run my own business because I'd read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but I knew I needed to get into real estate. I needed to invest. And so, having that experience in my mid-20s, I finally made the plunge, walked away from everything that I had built for a decade to go full-time into real estate. And it was scary. It was very scary, but I am so glad that I did. So glad that I did. It's completely changed my life.
Yeah, that's incredible. It seems like there's this Sorry, my phone's ringing in the background over there.
Turn mine off too.
I think that's actually a deal calling, but calling back. So you were kind of start talking about how you were at this very young age, having this entrepreneurial spirit. Do you think that's nature or nurture? Like, I always ask myself, or I try to get to the bottom of what puts that seed in someone. If it's like just like you were seeing those huge houses and it looked really cool, or if you were kind of always going to end up interested in that. Do you think it was nature or nurture?
I don't know. I totally believe that. So I have 2 kids, right? And I have a boy and I have a girl. And my little girl is so feminine. She's so, she comes home from school and wants to tell me everything about it. My little boy comes home from school. How was school, son? It's okay. What'd you learn? ABCs. Like, that's his answer every single day. He has zero interest in talking, and like explaining and telling me all the details. My little girl's the opposite. It's like, man, like, I believe that by nature, we have tendencies, sure, but I don't think that my success comes just because of the way I was born. I think a lot of the times people will use that as an excuse why they shouldn't try, is it's not their personality type. And I say that because it wasn't easy. There was a lot of nights that I cried myself to sleep, felt like a failure. I remember one night, I was trying to grow this window cleaning business. I had work for 5 employees. I had 3 at the time. And one of them, had to quit. He had some personal things happen. The other one promised the other employee the world and went and started his own business. I went from 3 employees needing 5 down to 0 overnight. And I just bought my first rental property. So I was up till 2, 3 in the morning doing all the work myself because I couldn't afford to pay a contractor. And I remember installing the carpets. It was like 2, 3 in the morning, and I got done installing the carpets. My knees hurt from kicking in the carpets. If anybody of you guys kicked in carpets, it sucks. Hurts. And I remember just laying on the carpet after I got done installing it and feeling sorry for myself and crying, just sobbing. I fell asleep on the carpet right there. My wife came down in the morning and I was just passed out on the floor. And, there was a lot of nights and a lot of times that I felt inadequate, and still to this day, I feel inadequate. And I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't have amazing mentors. Right. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know what to do. I still at times don't know what to do. And I still to this day have mentors and advisors and people that help me. One thing that I think that's made me successful is I set a goal for what I want. And I figure out someone that can help me get there and tell me what to do and how to do it. And I roll up my sleeves and I work. But I don't think being successful and having financial freedom is only available to those that were born with natural tendencies. I really don't think I think that's silly. I really do. I believe that if someone really wants it and are willing to work for it, they can have it. I mean, you're sitting there with the American flag behind you, and I'm a patriotic person. I lived in Sao Paulo, Brazil for 2 years serving a Christian mission. And I saw the opportunities and the differences between a third world country and our country. And we truly have the opportunities to have success, and the American dream is alive and well. I love immigration. I think it's what fuels that feeling of the American dream. I have 4 Brazilians that work for me now, and man, they're go-getters, man, because they believe in the American dream. They have so much pride and excitement for the opportunities here. So, it's very, very long-winded, but I think natural tendencies may help you, but it's not what's going to make you successful. No.
Yeah, it actually seems like the way it should be is that the bare minimum requirement is that you get to a spot where you're financially free. So then you can actually focus on doing the thing that you want to do, right? Because otherwise, I mean, yeah, sure. Maybe some people aren't inclined to go start their own business or invest in stocks or whatever it might be. But I'm sure most people don't like working for someone else in a 9 to 5 job cleaning toilets, right? So if you can just choose the harder thing, even though it's, they're both hard, choose this hard thing, and then eventually it gets you to a spot where you can, have the freedom to be able to go do the things you want. So yeah, that's a good way of putting that.
My father, when I'd come home from school and my dad would come home from work or whatever, I'd be like, Dad, how's work? And my dad would always say, son, they don't pay you because you enjoy what you do. And that's just what he thought. That's how he was raised. That was his perspective on life. And it's not true at all. It's not true. And I remember thinking as a kid, I was like, that's crap. Like, I don't want that for my life. And as I started having all these different jobs, I started learning there's different things that I liked and I didn't like, right? And there was parts of the jobs that I loved. And I learned that I liked leading a team. I liked building, doing sales. There were certain things that I liked. And, I started finding joy and fulfillment in work. And like you said, not everyone wants to be a Bill Gates, right? Not everyone wants to be an Elon Musk. Not everyone wants to build these giant multi-million-dollar companies and be billionaires. No, some people that they have zero interest in that. I don't have any interest in that. I don't want to make money just to make money. I want to make money to make the impact that I want to make. I want to serve my family. I want to serve my community. I want to do what I think will actually benefit me as a whole, as a person. And I take a lot of time off of work, right? I could make way more money, but it's not what fulfills me, right? So, like I said before, what's important for people to realize is you need to set a goal for what you want your life to look like in all aspects, financially, personally, emotionally, and set that goal and find someone that's living and doing what you're trying to do, and then ask for the step-by-step instruction to get there.
That's great stuff. I think that's huge because it's so much harder trying to do it on your own. If there's a completely foreign career or task or whatever it is, chances are you're not going to completely reinvent the wheel and figure out how to do it like everyone else has done it. It's so much easier if you can just go to find someone and say, hey, how can I help you? And in return, you teach me how to do this. That's a game changer. Is that kind of how you were able to transition into real estate?
100%. I slammed my head against the wall trying to figure it out myself for a few years and wasted a ton of money and made some mistakes, tried flipping a house and lost money. And there was a bunch of mistakes along the way. And I hired a guy named Tom Kroll. Doesn't coach anymore. He sold his coaching business. But he changed my life, dude. Completely changed my life. And I'll be forever grateful for what he did for me. Of course I paid him. It wasn't like he just coached me because he liked me. But even still, like it's incredible what it's done for me. And people might be thinking, well, what did he do? Well, he gave me instructions to teach me how to find off-market discounted properties, right? He taught me how to wholesale. So basically what that means is, and I'm sure many of your audience knows, but those that don't, is I find properties at 50, 60 cents on the dollar, and I pass the opportunity off for an assignment fee, for finder's fee. And we are closing on our biggest assignment fee ever, actually, in 2 days. We're going to make $103,000 for the assignment fee.
Let's go.
Which is extremely exciting. I've coached a few people with 6-figure assignment fees. I've never assigned one for that much. Pretty exciting stuff. I've done flips and I've done like buy and holds where I've held them for a year or two and then sold them for 6 figures, but I've never just found a deal and sold it. And what's cool is that someone called us off a postcard last week and we're assigning it this week. It's crazy. Anyways, I learned how to do that, but the greatest part about being able to wholesale and source off market discounted properties, especially in competitive markets right now, is I have opportunities to cherry pick for rentals, to build net worth, to build cash flow, right? So I can actually have the financial freedom that I want. And I built a team around it. So I don't even have to negotiate any of my deals. I don't have to, do the cold calling or the postcards or any of it. Like I get to do what fulfills me. And what fulfills me is helping other people, being on podcasts, serving and giving back. So, I was in the grind for 10 years as a window washer, and got hurt a couple times and had issues with my shoulder from it. Hated the industry, honestly, to, a few short 6-7 years. It's completely changed my life.
Yeah, man, that's so crazy. Yeah. That's really the way that people have been building generational wealth in America since the beginning of time. How much land do you own, right? That describes how much worth it is. So it makes sense that that's kind of where you stumbled if you're, trying to figure out how to build wealth. Can we talk about the first deal that you did and how that went?
Yeah. So my very, very first real estate deal, I thought I came up with the idea of living in one side and renting the other. People call it house hacking now. I didn't invent that. That was back before I was trying to learn from other people and trying to figure stuff out myself. But that ended up being a really good deal. I bought a duplex back in 2011 or 12. I think it was 12, actually. So the banks were unloading their foreclosures, and I bought this duplex for 60 grand. I got a $5,000 grant. So I was in, for the down payment that I never had to pay back. So I got a $55,000 duplex. I rented, I had to do all the work. I put about $20,000 in improvements. I did all the work myself, and I rented the one side for about $750 and lived in the other. And my payment was about $400 a month. And that included taxes and insurance, which was crazy. Right. And I was like, man, this is awesome. I got to do more and more and more of this. Right. Cause that's easy. If I can do 50 of these, I'm done. Right. I'll never need money again. But then the bank's like, oh, your next one, you need 25% down. I was like, I didn't have 25% down. And then they wanted better debt to income ratios, and they wanted all sorts of different things. Right. So I kept hitting all these roadblocks every time I thought I had it figured out. And so then I tried flipping a house, which was a complete nightmare. I started asking all my wealthy clients. I pitched to like 25 people. I pitched to a lot of different wealthy clients that I wash windows for, right? I'm constantly washing mansions. And so I finally found someone that would give me some money. His name was Steve Young, not the football player, but anyways, he gave me some money. I paid him back what we agreed, but I had to come up with money to pay him because I lost money on the flip. And so I was like, hey, I hate flipping houses. Let's find something else. So I finally got smart, started listening to podcasts, and learned about wholesaling. And I was immediately a skeptic, right? It's like, nah, this doesn't work, right? Like, no one's going to sell your house. No one's going to give you a house at that big of a discount. And if they did, you're taking advantage of them. It didn't sit with me right as well. So, I kept trying to figure things out, saving up for a down payment, trying to buy more rentals. And I started washing windows, or I washed windows for a guy named Stan Nielsen. And Stan had this beautiful home, nice guy, elderly guy. And I got talking to him about what he did for work. And he's like, he was a real estate developer. And I was like, oh, wow. And I wanted to know everything, right? Because I wanted to learn. And this was back in 2016 or 17. I think it was 16, fall of 2016. And I said, wow, that's so cool. At the end of like an hour conversation where I heard a story, what he was doing, I said, man, I would love to buy 2 rentals this year. He said, oh, that's convenient. I've got these 2 properties I don't want to deal with. I haven't collected rents in 4 months. The property manager bailed on me. I've got these big developments. I don't care about them. I'll even give them to you for a great price. I said, okay, sounds great. Let's do it. He wanted $500,000 for both of them, which was a good deal, very, very, very good deal. But I said, I don't have $500,000 or the ability to get a loan. He said, that's fine. I'll be the bank. He's like, can you put 20% down? I said, no, I can't. He's like, how much? He's like, I can put a couple $1,000s down. He's like, okay, that works. Right. So he just hands the title over to me. Right. And I remember I was trying to talk him out of signing the agreement right then, because I wanted to make sure we had like the correct agreement. And I was all scared. I was like, oh, what am I getting myself into? And he just wrote it down on a piece of blank white paper. He's like, take this to the title company. He was like educating me on what to do. And the funny thing is, he also showed me that he had a big envelope full of postcards of people that wanted to buy out, right? Wholesalers, which is what I became, right? And so like my mind's blown, because it's like, holy crap, this exists. Like, people will sell their houses at a discount, that are more educated, that don't want to deal with it, that are wealthy. It's not like I'm taking advantage of the guy. The guy wanted help, right? And they want to deal with him. And he wanted to make sure I was successful as well because he liked me. And I was like, man, this is incredible, right? Like, this is life-changing. And I ended up, going in, getting the tenants out, cleaning them up, did it myself, and put tenants in place. And the tenants, I gave them an option to buy me out. And I said, if you want to buy it, you can. This is the price you need to buy me out. Both of those tenants exercised their right to buy the house within 24 months. I made over $100,000 profit.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa, exactly. And I'm like, holy crap, you know how long it'd take me to make that much money washing windows? I was like, forget window cleaning. I was like, this is incredible. This exists. And so then I was like, wholesaling's real. Like, you can find discounted properties, you can have integrity, and you can change your life. Like, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. And so I started researching wholesaling and podcasts, and that's how I found Tom Kroll. I hired him as a mentor. It took me about a year or two to find him, and I hired another mentor. It's kind of a long story, but long story short, I finally found a mentor that understood how to help me consistently find deals and cared about me and cared about my success. After about a month and a half of joining his program, I did my first traditional wholesale deal where I sold the purchase contract, took no debt, no risk, didn't have to buy the properties. And I made $10,000 of signing that contract. And, within the first 8 months, I made like 115 grand. The second year I did just shy of $500,000. The year after that, I did 1.2 million. The next year we did only about 700,000 because I actually transitioned out of the business where I wasn't working in the business at all, just having my team do it because I wanted to coach. So I took a huge pay cut to become a coach. People are like, well, why do you coach? Because you can't make money. It's like, dude, I took a pay cut to coach you. Stop, but anyways, I fell in love with coaching, and that's another story. But I started coaching. And then this year we're actually on track to do 1.5 million. We've already broke the $1 million mark for 2021. It's September. And, we've got 2 deals under contract. One, we're flipping an expected profit of 300 grand. And then we have another one. If we can subdivide it with a city, we'll make about another 100 grand. So yeah, we should break the 1.5 comfortably by the end of the year. It's pretty exciting stuff. So team's going on a cruise with me, and we're going to have a great time.
Dude, you're living, like you're saying, that's the American dream right there. That is so cool. You're killing it. Is that mostly wholesale fees, or is this kind of the sum total of everything?
That's all wholesale fees except for 2 flips. There'd be the big flip, the 300,000, and another one. The rest is all wholesale fees. And then that doesn't even count the 5 deals that I've cherry picked this year as rental for my rentals.
Dang, man, that is incredible. Yeah, the concept of wholesaling, it can change everything once you've done it. So I've done 3 deals now. I'm working on the 4th. It feels close. I'm in negotiation, but it's after you do it, get that proof of concept, and you can realize that out of thin air you can just create a paycheck for yourself. It's like that concept just shifts everything. I mean, I don't think about working an extra 2 hours so that I can get,
time and a half
$20 more on my, yeah, it's like, no, like I want to go and work on the other thing. How have you been able to scale that so quickly? Or is it all in one market? Or are you going virtually in the other different markets? How does that work?
So I ended up opening up a market this spring, and we've only made like 300,000, I think, so far for the year in that market, Tampa, Florida. So the only reason I opened that market though is, I mentioned I became a coach, and I was thinking like, how do I take a skeptic and make him a believer? Cause like I was a skeptic, right? And I was like, well, what made me a believer in the process and realize that like, this is real and not just like some pipe dream. And I was like, well, it happened. I saw it happen, right? I met Stan Nielsen, and I was like, I need to let people meet a Stan Nielsen. I need them to be able to experience it, because if they can experience it, they'll believe it, right? Seeing's believing. And so I was up super late one night. It's like, how do I do this? I was like, why don't I just go document like a challenge and go do it? And so that's what I did. I took $1,000. I flew to Tampa, where I had never been, by the way. I'd never been there, rented an Airbnb in a car. And the goal is to take that $1,000 and turn it into 40 grand in 40 days and document the whole thing and put it on YouTube. And so I did. And that's on my YouTube channel. You can watch it for free. And I blew that out of the water. I signed 3 properties and made $93,000 and cherry picked 2 properties as rentals with over $100,000 in equity in those 2. And it was pretty awesome. Pretty friggin' awesome. So yeah, that's why I opened up the second market, but majority of it's just here in Utah. And then you asked me, how did I scale so fast? I think it's a combination of things. I think that wholesaling, being able to wholesale, that's the first step, right? Being able to actually do deals, and then building and growing a team, building a business. I think that's a whole separate skill set, right? Growing a company and running a company is a whole different skill set. And it's something that I've been working on since I was 17 years old. So that helped for sure. But I think one of the big things that also helped me is, I mentioned I became a coach. I kind of got to give a backstory of why I became a coach to explain, what pushed me to automate my processes, because I loved coaching. So I'd only been wholesaling for a couple of years. And like I said, I did just shy of $500,000 that second year. And I wanted to do $1 million the next year. I didn't know how. I honestly had no clue how. I was kind of pinching myself for doing $500,000. And I was making more money than I ever made. And so I had a friend that invited me to do a self-help journal called Living Your Best Year Ever. And in that journal, it talks about the importance of giving away whatever you're trying to receive, right? So the first 100 pages is, it's not a journal. It helps you build 3 big goals for the year and what you need to do to accomplish those 3 goals. And then the rest of it is an actual journal. You keep track of what you're doing. And so I create 3 big goals. One's make $1 million, and I have to give away what I want to receive. If I want love, I have to give love. If I want money, I have to give money. So I'm like, okay, I have to give away $1 million. I'm like, I don't have $1 million. How do I give away $1 million? But it went in alignment with my core values, right? It was charitable, having charity, right? Giving to receive. You reap what you sow, right? Like it went in alignment with what I believed and what I've been taught. And I was like, okay, well now, like, how do I do it? And so I was talking to my wife, and I was like, man, like, how do we do this, babe? Like, I really want to make an impact too. Like, this would be really cool if we could do this. And so we decided that I was going to find 10 people that I could teach the marketing system that had made me $500,000, because I had kind of come up with my own system around driving for dollars. For those who don't know what driving for dollars is basically you drive around, identify ugly houses, and reach out to the sellers or to the owners and see if they want to sell. So I had come up with a system to do this, right? And this was kind of before Deal Machine. This was before a lot of the apps and the technology around Deal Machine. And I had put in I put like a $60,000 deposit with a development company to develop a Driving for Dollars app when Deal Machine approached me when I spoke at an event once. And so, anyways, I don't want to get on a tangent, but I was like, okay, that's what we're going to do. We're going to find 10 students. My very first student was Michael McLeish. He was a co-student of another program I had been a part of. And I wanted him because I knew he would ask me lots of intelligent questions and would really implement it because he's already doing deals. And, I brought on Scott Dallinger and a bunch of these people. And I told him, I said, you guys are guinea pigs, but you have to pay me because I want to know that you're actually going to implement. So I made him pay me, but I brought on these 10 people and I said, the goal is to put $1 million in your pockets. And so I started teaching them. And the craziest thing ever happened. The more I taught them, the more I realized how stupid I was, how little I knew about systems and processes. And like, they kept asking me questions. I was like, oh, I don't know. I have to check. I have to look. And I kept finding all these loopholes and mistakes. Like, one of the mistakes that you're going to laugh at me. So they're like, hey, Zach, when you put your tracking phone number on your postcard, how do you know that you're getting the text messages and the phone calls? And I'm like, I've never received a text message off my postcard number. So I go back and dig in and I realize I missed all these leads. These leads. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, that's just one of the little simple things I can tell you. I can't even tell you about all of the mistakes that I was making. And I didn't know it because I wasn't teaching others. If you want to really understand something, teach it, right? Give, serve, give back, man. And the craziest thing happened. it's not that I made the 1.2 million because I hit my goal, but the craziest thing happened. I fell in love with coaching. I found my calling. And because of that, I'm getting emotional. Because of that, it forced me to go, okay, well, I still need to take care of my family. I still want financial freedom. I still want my wholesaling business. I have to automate it. I have to automate the process so I can still have this foundational business and also have the understanding of how to run and own a wholesaling business so I can continue to teach others to do it. And so I took a hit in pay, right? Because now I started spending all my time building a second business, which is complete distraction, right? Shiny object syndrome. So I started building this coaching business and bringing on employees for that business and bringing on employees for my wholesaling business and teaching them and teaching students and working crazy hours because I loved coaching. And it was totally worth all of it, and I'm still not making the kind of money I want as a coach, but I get things like this. So remember Michael McLeish was my first student.
Yeah.
So he texted me Friday. So last Friday, look. So you can see on my phone, I can't manipulate that. See Michael McLeish's number right there?
Yep.
It says Friday. So it's now Monday. So this was 3 days ago. And he said, hey, Zach, we've got a person, Josh Wagner, who's interested in the Driving for Dollars course. Just a heads up, you may be hearing from him soon. He said, by the way, I just checked my numbers. Over $1 million made since taking your course, Driving for Dollars deals. Another $499,000 closed this year from Driving for Dollars. I'm extremely thankful for your teaching me how to get a better system for this channel. Just sent a group message on the Facebook message. My very first student made the $1 million from my coaching, which was my goal for 10 people to do. And making money is awesome. Like, it's awesome. It's great to have financial freedom. Like, we went out for our 10-year anniversary and we bought a new truck and we bought a trailer to travel. Right. And we're going to go do a 1.5-month trip up to Alaska next year. We're going to do a 3-week trip down to Arizona, down by you in January. And we're going to have all this freedom and fun and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, nothing compares to seeing other people be successful because you served. Like, nothing. It kind of reminds me of serving my Christian mission in Brazil and just giving and serving and giving back. Like, that's what fulfills me as a person. And, don't get me wrong. I like having nice things. I like having a nice house. I like having a vehicle that works. I've been broke. I've been super poor. I've slept on a cement floor in a sleeping bag for a year. I've had some rough situations in my life. And so having that success feels wonderful for me to take care of my family. But, one thing that I've found in business and in life is seeing other people successful actually means more in yourself, means more to me than my own success. I tell people this all the time, like, your first deal is life-changing. Second deal is proof of concept. I can do this again. Third deal is a lot of work. And after time, you don't remember your 4th, 5th, and 6th deal, your 10th deal, your 13th deal. You don't know. You don't remember. It's just another transaction. It's just a lot of work. But every time you help a student get their first deal, you get that same euphoric feeling as you got when you got your first deal. Right. And so it definitely fulfills me.
Yeah, man, that's powerful stuff. And you can really tell when someone's being genuine. And I know, like, what you're saying is what you believe and you do what you preach. Like, that's one thing you see a lot of times on the internet is there's, look at my course, buy all this. And then they haven't done a deal maybe in however many years. But even the going to Tampa and just starting from the ground and being like, hey, watch me do it. This is how it's real. And then you completely destroyed what you set out to do. So even that alone just shows that you actually are about what you're saying. And then, I can tell that you're genuine when you say that giving back is what is the most impactful for you. And then ultimately, like, being able to change someone's life so much, like, doing driving for dollars and then making like that's completely changes everything. That flips their entire life upside down and is completely different than probably what they would have done before they met you. So that's so cool that you're able to have such an impact on people just by doing what you love. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's the best, dude. Like, and you know, and I'm building bonds and relationships that actually mean something to me. You know, like they're not shallow. It's, you know, you help me, you're my friend, like I've helped you, like, and we help each other, right? Like I have a list of people all across the country that I can call and they could help me if I needed help, and I can help them. And like, you know, I get to marry 2 of my students, right? I'm flying down to California in the spring and marrying 2 of my students. They asked me to marry them. Like it's sorry, one of my cold callers that hasn't been here forever just walked in, who just yeah, it's awesome. He's been doing some summer sales. It just came in for the first day. Yeah, man, it's pretty incredible. Feel very, very grateful and you know, privileged, very privileged.
Yeah, man. You've said a lot of good stuff today, and I think anybody that hears this podcast is going to have a different perspective and have a fire under their belly to go out and start making things happen. If you could leave the listeners with maybe one piece of advice or one thing that you wish you would have heard when you were first starting out, what would that be?
Yeah, I always used to tell myself, Tony Robbins helped me overcome this limiting belief. But I always used to tell myself that I was stupid, and so I just needed to hustle. I wasn't a very good student. I struggled to retain information. I got straight A's in high school because I was really good at cheating. But and it's not cheating, right? In the business world, it's called collective working, right?
Right.
It's called having a team. But I was really insecure about my ability to retain information. You know, going to Brazil and learning Portuguese helped me a little bit, but I still struggled to retain information. And so for the longest time, I just worked really, really hard and a lot of long hours and was a little bit miserable. And I finally realized that I wasn't dumb. And I think a lot of people think that the only way to become successful is to work hard. And there's a lot of gurus out there, and you know, I'll name drop, I don't even care. Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk. These guys, I watched an interview with Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone, and they sit there and argue about who works more hours. It's ridiculous. It's silly. I thought it was the dumbest thing I had ever seen, because it's like, well, how does that bring fulfillment in life? It's almost like they get fulfillment because they work so much. Like that's the only reason they find value in themselves. And it's kind of sad. That's not where I get my value. And so I started to think differently, that, you know, working more doesn't equal more success. And I started listening to podcasts, and then I hired that mentor, Tom Kroll. And that's when I really started seeing explosive success, because I started going, okay, this is my goal. Who's done it and who can help me get there? And as soon as I started doing that, that's when I started having success. When I started just implementing the action steps that other people that have gone before me and done what I'm trying to do have done it. They gave me the steps. I did the steps and I found success. Right. And so my advice, to answer your question, is to not think that you have to only work hard, that that's the only thing that's going to make you successful. Don't think that you're not intelligent enough. I was a window cleaner, had zero window or real estate experience. Like, I would not have been successful without my mentors, right? I know that I wouldn't have. I would have given up. I would have hit my head against the wall and lost enough money that I eventually would have given up. So my advice is to find a mentor. And you might be saying to yourselves, listeners, right? Well, you're saying that, Zach, because you are a mentor and you're trying to get students. I don't care if you become my student, right? Like, I care that you're successful. I truly mean that. I mean that so much that don't hire me. If you really have any doubts that I'm saying that because I want you to join my program, do not join my program. Join someone else's program. There's more than one wholesaling coach. There's more than one person that can help you. My advice on picking a mentor, though, like, let me outline this for you. You need to find someone that's not done it in the past. Okay. Oh, my internet's good.
I got you now.
You got me now. I'm not sure where you lost me. Where'd you lose me?
You were saying you're going to outline how to pick a mentor, and then you said you need
Okay.
to, and then it cut.
Okay, sorry, broke up. So I'm going to outline what you need to look for in a mentor. Find someone that is currently doing what you're trying to accomplish, right? Not done it in the past, didn't do it a decade ago. Find someone that's currently doing what you're doing, what you're wanting to do, right? Whether that's build a wholesaling business, being a developer. I don't do land developments. That's not what I specialize in. Find someone that specializes doing what you're trying to do, right? And then also has a track record of helping other people be successful. Because teaching someone to do what you're trying, how to do what they do is a whole different thing than actually just doing it, right? Like they have to have a heart for it. They have to be successful themselves, but also have their students be successful. So make sure they have a track record of successful students, that they have testimonials, that they have video testimonials, that you can listen to their students talk about the program, that you can call those students and ask them, what are they saying about that coach, right? Vet the coach. Please do this. If not, you're throwing money away. I promise. Okay. So those are the two main things. The third thing that I would suggest, make sure you like that person. Make sure that your core values align. Make sure that, like, for example, my personality type, I get so frustrated when people, have like the Lamborghinis and the models and subjectify women to make sales, right? Like that bothers me at a core value level, right? It's an ethics level. And I would never, ever want to work with someone that has that type of perspective on life, right? And so make sure that you could be friends, that you could spend time with that person, because if not, at some point your ethics and your core values won't align, and that's going to stop you from being successful. So those are the three things you need to look for in a mentor. And like I said, if you think I'm saying this because I'm trying to get you to be a student, go find someone else, because there's lots of great coaches, right? I'm not the only one. So yeah, that would be my advice. Find a mentor, and that's what I would look for in a mentor.
That's gold advice. And for all the people listening, I think, like you were saying, how much you love giving back. I think this podcast is probably worth $1 million. So I really appreciate all the value that you added today, and your time, and being able to just talk about your story, because it's really motivating, and I could tell you're a good guy and you're doing the right thing. So I really appreciate you coming on the Get Wealth podcast, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, Zack Boothe, everybody. Get wealthy.